Welcome to Relationship Real Talk, Live the Life's podcast. For over 20 years, we've been dedicated to strengthening marriages and families through relationship education. Our core goals are to reduce the Florida divorce rate by 50% by 2029, to increase the marriage rate, and reduce teen pregnancy and out-of-wedlock births. For more information about us, you can visit us at livethelife.org. Hey everybody, welcome back to Relationship Real Talk. We're really excited to have you here. We actually have a surprise guest, a special guest. We have
never before seen.
So exciting, the Mr. Cameron Briggs, my husband. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about newlyweds, which of course we are.
Tis we are.
Oh, that was a new word. That's exciting.
I'm going Old English for this one.
Oh, yes. Anywho, so yeah, we've been married for what, like 8 months?
8 months.
Yeah. So we're still in that first year, still kind of working through.
Learning a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Learning a lot about each other, about ourselves, about marriage,
absolutely.
How we function.
Yeah. So why don't we just go dive in, talk about what the first year or first 8 months has been like for us. So I want you to give me like 3 words you would use to describe our first year of marriage so far.
Okay. Fun, challenging, growth.
Interesting. Okay. So
those are 3 words.
Which one would you like to expand on?
I would say, I feel like I could expand on them all. Obviously, it's fun because it's fun doing life with someone you love a lot. Just experiencing everything, doing things together, going on trips. All it's a lot of fun. And there are moments where it definitely cannot be as fun as others, like, because there are moments that get very, very challenging when you're not on the same page, when you feel like this person's out to get you for some reason and you letting the enemy just talk to you. Challenging. It doesn't always have to be bad challenges though either. Like, and I think that's what goes into the third word that I said of growth is I feel like you and I have grown so much these past 8 months. I've been growing for a long time in my relationship with you because you are constantly also challenging me to be a better man. So yeah, I would say growth just because 8 months ago, even 2 months ago, a month ago, I'm not the same person. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that's definitely growth.
Yeah. So that was all of them that you expanded on.
Yeah, and I wanted to expand on all of them because that's who I am. So
yeah.
I like talking.
Why write a short story when you can write a long one?
Exactly.
You get
Shout out Brando Sando.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, so first year of marriage, it's been challenging. It's been fun. It's been a growing experience. I will say one of the things that I did kind of want to touch on with this episode is I think in today's culture, there's a lot of emphasis on finding the one. And so I kind of wanted to talk about when it came to deciding, okay, I want to marry this person, I want to be with them for the rest of my life. How did you know? And I kind of have like a devil's advocate view on this. But anyhow, what was your process to getting to that place?
The process, it was definitely me thinking, okay, first thinking, do I see myself living with this person for the rest of my life? Because the rest of my life is a very long time. I'm pretty young. You're also young, so shush. But the rest of my life, that's a long time. I'm only 24. When we got married, I was 23. So,
and next year you'll be 25.
This year.
Well, I mean, you get it, but whatever.
Yeah. It's difficult because I feel like in my generation specifically, people don't want to commit to something that takes longer than a couple years. Like my generation, I feel like is always going from job to job. Like I want to experience new things. They're like, I don't want to feel tied down to a certain area. I don't want to feel tied down to a certain person. I want to live my life the way I want to live it, and that's just the way it's gonna have to go. So definitely thinking, okay, like, do I want to spend the rest of my life with this person? And the answer is yes, obviously. That's why we're
Mm-hmm.
married.
Yeah.
Um, be awkward to say on the podcast, like, I still don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Um, so definitely thinking like that, but also thinking, okay, because for me, there are moments where it's like, I don't want to say like you need to meet requirements,
Yeah.
but you need to meet requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you kind? Do you love God? Do you love others? Do you love my family? Do you and I get along together? Do we like common interests?
Mm-hmm.
And all those answers are yes. Like, yes, you get along. You love my family. I love your family. We both love Jesus. We both have very common interests that we love doing together. And I'm also a very
Mm-hmm.
sports guy, and you love playing sports too.
Yeah.
So all that mattered a lot to it. But I think I know where you're gonna go with the whole devil's advocate, and
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you that
Yeah.
I don't believe in the one.
Yeah.
I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
To say that you are the only person out there for me
Right.
is a lie.
Right.
Obviously, am I currently out there looking for another woman that meets those requirements? No, I'm not. I have found the one that I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, knock on wood, if something happens to either of us in 5 years, to say that, like, that's it, that was your one marriage, like,
Right.
that was your the one, there's no one else out there for you.
Yeah.
That's not true. I don't believe in that. I believe that if something were to happen to me, that there's someone else out there for you. If I believe if something happens to you, that there's someone out there for me as well. Like, you and I can get remarried and stuff like that. Obviously, if I die, I hope for a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah, like a little mourning period.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I
I'll definitely be wearing black for like a week.
At least.
Yeah.
At least. I need at least a picture on the mantle. Like,
ooh, that could get awkward.
yeah. Well, you can put it down
Oh,
when, like, company comes, I guess.
that's so kind of you to allow that.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
You know me.
Well, yeah, and exactly like what you're saying, I think that's actually probably the biggest lie that society believes right now, is that there is one person that will meet all my needs, that will make me feel like this is the right choice. And I think that's the most detrimental thing to our society relationally right now, just because if you think about it, like we were just talking about this the other day, how Tinder and Bumble and all these dating apps have created like this thought that there's always going to be someone else I can swipe on.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be someone that is maybe a little cuter or maybe a little funnier or maybe a little smarter. And like, if I could just get to that person that's leveled up from every other person I've been with, then I'll be happy. But I think what we're forgetting is like the whole point to me of marriage is not about finding the one, but finding the one that I can say yes to every single day. And what I mean by that is like as we've been married, like it's not like every day I wake up and I'm just like, wow, Cameron is the one for me. Like,
what?
He's just the bee's knees. Like, there are days that it's really hard and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, ugh. And
Yeah.
my selfishness, like, just wants to be like, why can't he just like bring me breakfast in bed and make me coffee and like do all the dishes and do all the laundry and like I could just live this carefree life. But that's so unrealistic. And when I get to that selfishness and that fleshly part of myself, I've got to go back to, no, like I chose this person. And I will continue to choose this person regardless of how I feel, because my feelings are fleeting. My feelings are momentary. Like, I mean, I'm sure you ladies know and you men know as well. There can be one moment where I'm watching a movie, I'm hysterically laughing, and then 2 minutes later, I'm crying my eyes out, R.E. up, you know? So, like, that emotional roller coaster, we're going to base the rest of our life and our commitment level on something as fickle as feelings. I think that's where we've really messed up as a society, allowing dating apps and that kind of stuff to dictate, well, there's another option, there's someone else will be able to do that. And I just think, You know, obviously, like you said, I love the thing about standards. Like, there are standards, and you absolutely should have standards, and you absolutely should not buckle on those standards. There are red flags, and you absolutely should not let certain red flags enter into like a sacred relational space. But we're all human.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that there's going to be flaws in every single person. And I tell this to my family all the time. Like, if you're looking for the one, it's Jesus.
Yeah.
He's the only one that was perfect. He's the only one that's never going to sin against you. He's the only one that's always going to keep you at the forefront of his mind. He's going to die for you. He's going to love you unconditionally. Like, that is the one.
Yeah.
So every other human being is going to fall short of that.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool how, like, our human fleshly hearts, we long for the one. We long to find that one, but what we were created for was to find that in Jesus.
We think the one is going to be
right, a human being.
A human being.
But we're created to find that in Jesus and then have someone else to come along and do life with. And I tell you all the time, like, marriage is a mirror of the Trinity and of what God did for us. Like, whenever something is happening between us, like, it's my job to show you the love of God. And it's not my job to come back at you with fleshly responses or whatever. And especially, like, if you're upset, it's not my job to, like, try and fix you. It's my job to remind you of who God says you are. Just like we're the bride of Christ and he loves us that way. Like, that's what marriage is supposed to be a picture of. Obviously, as humans, we get that wrong a lot. But, like, it's just, this world is obviously very hungry for Christ. And that's how I think the one comes out of.
Yeah. And I definitely think you hit it on the head when you were talking about, like, there's going to be morning for you and me. There's mornings where we wake up and we're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not feeling it right now. And there are moments where we wake up and we're like, I feel nothing but love for this person next to me.
Snuggle.
Yeah, it's definitely this one.
Okay.
I'm not a morning person. Yeah. And this one likes to poke me in the bed and be like, hey, how are you?
Yeah. No apologies.
And I think I watched a video, Brene Brown talking about it, where it's like, it's not 50-50.
Right.
Like, sometimes it's 80-20. Sometimes it's 30-30. Sometimes it's 0-0. Sometimes it's 100-100.
Yeah. Like,
that's just how it is. Like, and we gotta be like, it's having that level of communication with where we're at of like, hey, and like, I feel like I've started to do that better. Where like, I don't just leave you guessing if I'm in a weird mood. I tell you, like, hey, like, I'm just, like, yesterday I walked up to you. I said, hey, I just feel sad for some reason. I just feel sad. I'll walk up to you and be, I feel like I'm just in a weird mood. And I've learned now that, like, those weird moods is usually attached to anxiety that I'm trying to figure out. Yeah. So it's me trying to figure out the moments, like, what am I feeling anxious about? But yeah, I would say definitely understanding that marriage is definitely waking up and saying, I still choose you. I still choose you. I still choose to lay my life down for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So as we've been going through these 8 months, we've been married. So exciting. What's been the biggest thing to surprise you about being married?
Probably how little I know myself.
Oh, what do you mean?
There's things that happen in our marriage and I react and I'm like, why am I doing this right now?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I don't know me. I've learned more and more that, like, I think Ashley has a better understanding sometimes of how I work than how I work. Yeah, I'm just learning what, like, emotional triggers are for me and learning that, like, hey, this makes me upset. This makes me happy. This makes me sad. This makes me joyous. And learning how, I've also learned how easily the switch can get flipped for me. Like, I could be in a super good mood.
Yeah.
And then if I go to screw something in a wall and something goes wrong for 0.2 seconds, I want to punch a hole through the wall. Like, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just definitely say, like, I don't know myself as much as I thought I did. So marriage has definitely been a growing experience for me to learn you and for me to learn me as well.
Yeah. And I think definitely something to that point is when you're in a healthy marriage, I'm not saying, I don't even believe that a perfect marriage exists, but I think healthy marriages exist. And in a healthy marriage, if it's safe for you to be able to show emotions like sadness and, anxiety and worry, and like if it's actually safe for you to come to me with that, then you're actually able to explore rather than hide. And I
Yeah.
think that might be why you didn't know yourself as well before, because in the past, like, it may not have been safe for you to explore those emotions and think about why. But knowing that, like, if you come to me with that, I'm not going to be like, oh, there's something wrong with you and I can't believe you would be anxious about that, or I can't believe
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. But I'm like, okay, like, that's okay, that's totally understandable. Like, it's understandable that that hurt you. Like,
And you're just as curious as I am.
yeah,
You're like, I want to know
exactly.
how your mind's working right now.
Right. And so, like, creating that healthy space, which obviously I don't do that 100% of the time, but like prioritizing that and like being in the right headspace for it, I
Yeah.
think is like super, super healthy if you can do that. I think the thing that surprised me the most, I think it's honestly the mental load. Like, I didn't even realize what that was until TikTok blew me up
I didn't know
with
what it
it.
was either.
Yeah. But I was watching videos obviously about the mental load, and I was like, I have never
Well,
felt
explain what the mental load is
more.
for people that don't know what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, I'm going to.
Por favor,
Um
sorry.
but so as I'm watching these videos about the mental load, it's basically when there are two people in a relationship, there's usually one person that's better about planning, organizing, seeing things that need to be done, getting them done. And yeah, and they're usually like the the orchestrator of the relationship. Like, if you have two non-mental loaders in the relationship, you might just be sitting around like, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know what you want to do. And then there's, laundry everywhere. Well, we'll do it tomorrow, or we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow. Or just walk past it every single day, and there's trash piling up and the bed never gets made. And so realizing like that the mental load is not meant to be actually burdened by one person, but should be carried by both people. And like actually being able to have a conversation with you, being like, hey, when you see laundry on the floor, it's it's mental energy for me to have to say, hey, Cameron, will you pick this up and will you put it away? Like, even though I appreciate you doing it when I ask, having to ask is energy that I want to be able to spend somewhere else rather than being the manager of the things that need to get done. And so it's been really cool to like come home and like you're like doing the dishes and I'm like, oh my gosh, like you heard me about seeing something and doing something, and having that be something that I can now release, because it's a lot of pressure for me. I keep running to-do lists and I have like all of these things that I need to check off during the day, and knowing that like those things around the house are something that we're both sharing is just something that I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I don't have to ask you to do it. Like, you now see it and you can do it. And that's been something that's been really educational for me, and something that's been like very helpful to me to learn about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely opened my eyes more of like, okay. Like I didn't know what a mental load was.
Yeah.
And so learning that as well with you and thinking to myself like, okay, like this is how Ashley's feeling. And the way I always think of this, I think I'm pretty sure I first heard Richard say it, where it's like, I want to do this for you because I don't want any other man doing this for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the dishes because I don't want anyone else doing the dishes for my wife. I don't want anyone else, like the same
Yeah.
way it's like I don't want someone else holding the door open for my wife. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't want someone else holding my wife's hand. I don't want anyone else kissing my wife. Like I don't want anyone else serving my wife. Like I'm not trying to like keep serving you. Obviously, I want people to do stuff for you. I don't want to
Yeah.
sound like
Yeah.
super just toxic right now. I
No.
just want to be, I guess, the main beneficiary.
Right.
Like I want to be the person that gives you the most of that.
Yeah.
And to where if you see, and it helps as well because it makes it makes things feel more equal too. Like
Mm-hmm.
up until last night, I think I was doing dishes every single night for like the 4 or 5
Mm-hmm.
nights. And so now correct me if I'm wrong, but now it's like, okay, like, so Ashley washed some dishes last night while I went to the bathroom, which I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciated. And I
Mm-hmm.
told you I really appreciated that. It's one of those things of now it doesn't feel, I don't know, I'm just speaking. Let me know if I'm wrong, but it doesn't feel like this super mental load chore for you now to wash a couple of dishes, because you're like, Cameron picks up where he needs to pick up. Like, I don't feel like, oh, of course I'm doing dishes. It's like, I'm going to do this to help him now.
Right, exactly.
So
it was like, oh, there's 3 dishes in here. I might as well just do them. Like, because it's not something that I'm going to have to do or it won't get
instead
done.
of keeping it in there and being like, I'm testing Cameron to see if he sees it
Yes,
and cleans it up,
happen.
because she definitely does that. Or she's like, I'll see if Cameron notices this.
How many days could he walk past a full sink of dirty dishes?
Not anymore. Not anymore. Especially now that I'm trying to like have that mental thought of like, I'd rather do it today than do it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not just get it done today?
Yeah.
Because if you just keep putting stuff off until tomorrow is going to be packed, and then you're just not going to want to do anything.
Yeah.
So definitely thinking more of that as well.
So we've talked about, what are the things that we've learned? What are the things that we've grown in? What are something that surprised us?
Yeah.
What do you think has been important about creating like intentional time together? Like, what's been something that we've done well, like in order to stay connected?
I think you and I have done well with that by telling each other what we need as well. Because for anyone that's not married, you need to have discussions about what you want, because you can't read each other's mind.
Yeah.
Having discussions about sex, having discussions about how we're going to spend our money.
Yeah.
Because now it's our money. It's not
Right.
my money. It's not yours. It's ours. It's having a discussion of how are we going to spend our time together, because 90% of the time I have is our time.
Yeah.
Like, so how are we going to spend our time together? And most of it, I mean, I wouldn't say most of it, but we spend it watching TV. We spend it but we also spend it, we're like, hey, like, let's go on a walk.
Yeah.
Because I know you love getting up and going and doing something. And I mean, I love that as well. Yeah. So it's like, hey, let's go on a walk. Sometimes do I wish we could just go on a walk around the neighborhood instead of driving 20 minutes to go on a walk? Yes, I do. I think we have a very pretty neighborhood that we can just go walk around in. But we live 5 minutes from 6 pickleball courts down in Southwood. So it's like, we go play pickleball. We go play volleyball on Fridays. We have people over for game nights. We have family dinners and stuff like that. So just thinking of creative ways to spend time together. It doesn't always have to be, I guess for me, like, I've learned that it doesn't always have to be, all right, we're going to go out for a really nice dinner and spend a lot of money, or let's go plan an expensive trip. Let's go, spend a weekend at the beach. Let's go spend a week in the mountains. Like, obviously those are fun. We love doing those things. But it's definitely learning about how do you make the most of what little you have. Yeah. Because sometimes you're not going to get a whole weekend together. Sometimes you're not going to get a whole week together. Sometimes you're going to get 30 minutes to an hour. And what are you going to do with those 30 minutes to an hour to where it's like, all right, we're spending time together. Like when I was working at Costco, we only saw each other probably like 2-3 hours a day. We had to learn, how are we going to make the most of this time together? Because right now we're just passing in the night. Yeah. How are we going to make sure that we don't just become a couple that's just like, oh, hey, okay, bye. Like, because I don't want that. I know you don't want that. And it was a lot of growing pains in that. Yeah. But it's learning it and figuring out with your partner and feeling, and I say all this to build on, like, there needs to be a foundation of trust and security. Yeah. And I feel safe with you to have those conversations. You mentioned it earlier, like, I'm learning more and more because I feel safe talking to you about these things in a way I've never felt safe before. Yeah. So having that conversation of like, and you and I have had difficult conversations, very hard conversations where you and I are both crying. Yeah. And it's just how it's going to be sometimes. Yeah. I don't love those conversations in the moment. Yeah. But those conversations have helped you and I grow so much in our marriage because that's when we're just, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I need.
Yeah.
And I want to meet your needs because I don't want anyone else to meet your needs.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think you made a good point about when you were talking about like Costco. It was basically we were on opposite schedules.
yeah.
Like I worked like 8 to 5 and
We
you
both
worked
leave at 8:30 in the morning.
Oh yeah,
But then you get home at 5.
right.
I'm leaving at 5 and
right.
getting home at 10:30.
Right.
Just to
and
go to
I
bed
go to bed
at
at
midnight.
11.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we have like a very limited time in that season. And I just remember thinking like, I never see Cameron. But one of like the best parts of that season, well, there were two good parts of that season, but one of them was like when you came home or you had like a Thursday night off and you were like, I want to play a game with you. And I was like, oh, yeah, I love that idea. And like we played a game together and like that just to me, instead of just obviously we both work a lot. You were doing a lot of like physical labor, so you were tired, but you wanted to like play a game instead of just sitting and watching TV. And I really loved that because it was something that we hadn't really done before, just you and me. Like we've obviously done game nights, but
you and I don't spend a lot of time sitting down playing games, just me and you.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think the other good part of that season was just how much you were able to grow as a person. Like that was honestly probably the best thing that could have happened out of you working with like Costco and John Gandy, is just how positive those environments were. And that's honestly like why I was okay with us being on different shifts, because I could see the growth that you were having, just thriving with the coworkers that you had, with the managers that you had, with the supervisors that you had. It was such a good environment for you.
You saw I loved what I was doing.
Right. And you were just like, people were pouring into you and you just like, you came alive because, you know, we went through that period where you didn't have a job and I like kind of saw you like sinking into yourself. And
that was rough.
Yeah. So that like the switch of having like you coming back into who you were, like that was worth it for me, even though we were on different schedules. So that was why I was like, okay, this season is okay because like this is doing so much for Cameron. So
yeah, I mean, I don't really think I have anything else to add to that. Mm-hmm. It was definitely one of the better work environments. And obviously the job I have now, I'm also really, really enjoying. I have a great work environment. Mm-hmm. I've been blessed recently with jobs that give me great work environments. Mm-hmm. And I think it's true to say that, you know, a lot of people we're products of our environments, right, and what we're around.
Yeah.
And I was Costco hard? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was John Gandy hard at times? Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Like I enjoyed getting up and moving. Like I'd be coming home, working basically working 2 warehouse jobs because Costco is a warehouse.
Yeah.
Coming home with 18,000 steps. Yeah. And I'd come home and be like, hey, like I had a great day at work. Mm-hmm. And I made friends that I still talk to now outside of Costco. Mm-hmm. So people that I go play disc golf with, people that I have poker nights with, someone that moved away to South Carolina that I still talk with and play video games with, because it's like, these people I enjoy hanging out with them. They're cool guys. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy it. I mean, you saw we went back to Costco last Sunday and it felt like I was walking into my old high school and like saying hi to some old teachers. Like,
yeah, honestly.
Like they loved me there because I'm a hard worker. And it definitely taught me more about like, hey, push your head down and work, because I realized, man, like whatever job you're in, it's a blessing. Like I was out of work for 3 months. Mm-hmm. And so it was a blessing for me in that moment, and God has blessed me with an amazing job right now where I have a full-time salary and it's amazing, and you know I'm doing I'm doing something I really enjoy, and I'm working with people that enjoy having me around and people that I enjoy working with. Yeah. So I mean, I guess I say all that to say, man, if you're working right now, like it's a blessing. Yeah. It really is. Work is a blessing. Yeah. No matter how difficult it may seem, just remember that you are somewhere able to make money and, you know, fulfill a purpose. Yeah.
Well, and I think you brought up something in that with the video games. And so what I wanted to talk about next was, how do you prioritize spending time alone in order to kind of recharge and I mean, obviously, I love spending time with you, but I think it's important for you to also have time either with yourself or with other people, because I think a lot of times couples get really into their bubble and they're just like, oh, you're the only person in the whole world, and like it's just us, and like
That gets really unhealthy.
yeah, because it's so hard to put all of the pressure of a relational self on one person.
Yeah.
And so how do you think over the past like 8 months we've done of spending individual time and friend time? Like how have we balanced that?
I would say for me, it's definitely. I mean, you have to have a foundation of communication and trust again to be able to talk to someone, like to be able to talk to you when you and I are at the house together. Like sometimes, for me, it feels like we're at the house together. I am not allowed to touch any video games. I am not allowed to do that.
I've never said that.
And I know,
but-
and I know
right.
she has never said that. She's never at once like done that. But I also know that you don't like video games the most. You're not the biggest fan of them, and so it's difficult for me. But I need to have that level of foundation of trust and communication where it's like, hey, I know we're home together right now, but the boys are hopping on real quick. Can I hop on and play some video games with Dalton, Jordan, Chip, like hang out with them? But even when you're not at the house or we're going after work to do something, I go play volleyballs on Tuesday. I go play volleyball on Tuesday. I go play ultimate frisbee on Wednesday. Like one, I enjoy playing ultimate frisbee, and two, it's one of the few times a week I can guarantee that I'm going to see Dalton and hang out with him. And so because that's one of my guys. Like I love hanging out with him. So it's definitely one of those moments where I believe if you don't have like alone time to like focus on yourself and focus on like, because I have needs that you just can't meet.
Right.
Like I'm only playing, PlayStation once a week now. And so those moments where I get to play PlayStation mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I can go and play Fortnite. I can go and play Jedi Survival. I can go and play games that I really enjoy. Because video games have been such a huge part of my life for a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you a story recently where like I saved up my money to buy consoles because my parents didn't buy me video games.
Yeah.
They were like, if you're gonna play video games, you got to earn it, and I earned it. And for me, it's always been an escape to, I guess, a different world where it's like I don't have to focus on things. I'm not saying like, obviously, if you're just doing it all the time to escape your real world problems, you are in a bad place. But it's a place where I can play a good story and play some good games, and it meant a lot in my childhood, and even sometimes. I got, friends and family who don't live in Tallahassee. I don't see them. I can't just drive to their house and hang out with them.
Yeah.
I got, a brother in Denver. I have a brother in Charlotte. Like, it's a time where we can hop on and play together and talk and catch up and just hang out for a couple of hours. Yeah. And it's a very awesome escape and release, I guess, for us to just hang out and dudes being dudes. But yeah, and even just like having specific guy nights where I just like I'm going out with the guys, we're gonna go play poker, we're gonna go play disc golf, we're gonna go play pickleball, we're just gonna hang out and play a couple of games. Like it's just nice to have those releases, and I'm sure it's the same for you, like going to book club, having girls nights, going to see that movie the other day with Lindsay. Like I'm sure it was nice to just go and do something on your own as well.
I was gonna say my little like thing I like to do is like call Arden and Chip and Haley and Rachel and Judah and Jordan, and just kind of have those moments, like even if it's just like for 5 minutes and just talking to them.
It's really Arden and Judah though. That's who you're calling.
What? My sweet little loves.
You call Chip and Rachel because they're your gateways.
I mean, yeah, do they gatekeep? No, they don't gatekeep.
They don't gatekeep. They're the gateway. They're more than happy.
I'm just kidding.
They call you when Judah and Arden want to talk to you.
I mean, am I the favorite? Katie and Kimberly, hope you're not listening. Of course I am.
But yes, she is. They know that as well.
Of course, yeah. No, so, but that's like one thing that I really like to do. It's just kind of a time for me to, talk to my sister, talk to my brother, like see my little sweet loves, and Like I also just really like, even if you don't want to go on a walk, I like going on walks by myself and listening to my books or listening to music and just having that time where I'm able to get, steps in or do stuff with the dog, like go on walks with a dog and just kind of have a space to myself where I'm out in nature and I'm just not really thinking about anything, just either listening to a book or listening to movies. And I I wish I did that more. I'm not the best at doing that for myself, but um, I think I'm trying to do better at. I told my friend the other day at lunch, I was like, I'm going to stop saying the word busy and try and start using the word balance. Because I think the easiest thing for me to do is be like, I'm just so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy.
Yeah.
But if I can shift my mindset to being balanced and say, okay, like how can I balance in this? I think that will help me create moments for myself where I'm like, okay, I just worked 9 hours straight, like didn't even go on lunch. Like I need to go on a walk and just go be by myself. Like
Decompress. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
That matters a lot. And I think having balance is super important in life, and it's balance with, work, marriage, social life. Like marriage and social life can go hand in hand, but they can also be like, hey, I have a social life outside of you.
Right.
And it's fine to go hang out with people.
Yeah.
That, it's like, obviously, I enjoy everyone you hang out with, and you enjoy everyone I hang out with. We have friends that if we wanted to, yes, we could all hang out. But it's also those things of like, I'm going to go over to Dalton's house and watch season 3 of I Think You Should Leave just for 2.5 hours. Or, hey, like,
you.
I'm going to go. What'd you say?
I won't be joining you for that.
But like, hey, like, I'm going to go see a movie or something like that. And it's funny. My dad has always been surprised back when I was single. I would just go see movies by myself.
Yeah.
And my dad was always like, how do you do that? And I was like, it's so easy. I love it.
Yeah.
I love doing it.
Yeah.
I just go in and watch a good movie by myself.
Yeah.
So much fun. So, and there's movies that I know that are going to come out that I'm going to go see by myself because you have no interest in seeing them, which is fine. It does not bother me at all. Shout out Ninja Turtles. But I mean, there's going to be movies that I'm sure you want to go see that I'm like, I got no interest in seeing this movie. And that's just how it is sometimes. So yeah, I mean, it's having a balance of, I love you and I love spending time with you, but you're also, I think the biggest thing as well is if you're not taking time for yourself either, then how are you going to be able to give anything to your partner? So I think that's a big thing as well, is if you're not loving yourself and showing yourself self-love, then how do you expect to love someone else?
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, when we did our premarital before we got married and everything, what? Good gasp.
We did premarital?
We did premarital. So from premarital, when we went through with Katie and Jesse, what's the biggest thing you took away from that and that you like really enjoyed and would encourage other people about?
I will always suggest I will always say go through premarital. I'm like, listen, even if it's going through with a church and not live the life, like go through premarital, because there are things that you will learn that you did not know you knew. Like
you didn't know.
I don't know that I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I remember telling you before we went out, I was like, I feel like I know you pretty well. We went through it and I was like, who are you? I know so much more now.
Yeah.
I know so much more about you. I know so much more about me because of the inventory that we took with Start Smart.
Yeah.
And I will always suggest that because it's you are going to talk about things that you didn't think you should talk about.
Yeah.
Like we talked about finances, more questions about finances than I thought we were going to.
Yeah.
I thought it was the basic of like, all right, just let me know when you want to spend. Like we have a budget. Our money is your money is my money. My money is your money. It's our money. Okay. This is how it goes. But there's so much more questions to it. And there's in the book, there's so much more to it than just, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And especially like with sex, there's so much more to sex than just like, yeah, I guess when you and I are in the moment and feel it, because it's rare when you and I are both feeling it at the same time. But it's also being like, yeah, like I'm going to have sex because my partner wants to have sex. Because I mean, sometimes it's I know it's like, oh wow, what a sacrifice that you're having sex when it's like, oh, I don't really want to, but sure, let's go ahead. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what a sacrifice.
Yeah.
But there, that you will learn and talk about things that you didn't realize you had to talk about, especially when it comes to like, do we want to have children?
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to have a family? Like, what does that look like? That was a big discussion for me and you
Yeah.
when it came to premarital. That's where we spent a lot of our time, was family and having
Mm-hmm.
kids. So, man, I'm not. It's not gonna be the same for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But there's gonna be things where you learn and you talk about. You're like, I did not know this.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and something I've been like really proud of you too is like obviously we went through the skills again in premarital, and even throughout like our marriage, you'll be like, "Hey, can we sit down and do like a DTR, or can we sit down and do like an US card?" And I don't know, sometimes I guess when you're in it every day and you like, I don't know, you see the skills as something that's outward because you're always in it. I don't know, it's weird to explain, but just
it's
like
definitely different
you,
not working here anymore. Being like, yeah, I
yeah,
want to do a skill.
you saying, "Hey, I want to do a skill," like kind of brings me back to the reality, like, oh yeah, that's an option. Like
This is for
that's not
us
for
as
other
well.
people,
Yeah.
it's for me too. And so I've just really appreciated you being like, because it's vulnerable to ask, to say, hey, like,
It's not. Sometimes it's not easy, especially with us
yeah,
card. If you
yeah.
like, you get asked to do us card, you're like, what did I do?
Yeah.
You get asked to like, hey, can I take out the trash? You're like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm about to get unloaded on.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, it's me just talking about other stuff than you when I take out the trash. It's just like, this is everything that's frustrating me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. So I guess I'll ask, do you have any other advice or thoughts about marriage before I go into my final question for you?
Advice I would give to newlyweds is something that I don't think we've talked about yet, is your partner is now your priority. Their needs, their feelings, what they want, like, they are your priority. They are no one else's priority now. Like, a conversation that, like, I had with your father. It's like, listen, like, I'm the most important man in her life now.
Mhm.
Like, I'm the most important man in your life.
Right.
You are the most important
Or you
woman in
should
my
be,
life. Yeah,
yeah.
I should be.
Mhm.
And you are the most important woman in my life.
Mhm.
You're the most important person,
Yeah.
period, in my life. And understanding that, obviously with our faith, our relationship with Jesus comes first before everything. Before my relationship with Jesus comes before you, and vice versa. But after that, there is nothing on this planet that comes before you, or at least there shouldn't be. And so my advice to newlyweds is, when it comes down to anything against your partner, you are on your partner's side. You will, and it doesn't matter if you 100% are on their side in the moment. Like, you can talk about it in private behind closed doors. But if something comes up and you are arguing with, like, I'm on your side. Like, I'm with you, and I'm gonna go to bat for you. I'm gonna die for you. I'm with you, because you are someone. The same way I chose to be like, hey, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You also looked at me and said the same thing to me. I was like, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So, and I don't plan on remarrying. I don't plan on finding the other one.
Right.
Like, so it's like, I plan on doing my whole life with you, and I want to make sure that you and I are always, we may not be on the same page, but we're always in the same team.
Yeah.
And that's what matters to me. So
that's very true. Yeah. And I think if I were to have like any parting wisdom for married couples, I think, especially when I'm talking to other married couples and especially newly married couples, is like, talk about sex. Like,
yes.
just talk about it, because
sex is not weird.
Yeah. And it's something that if you really think about it, you don't know anything about,
Yeah.
because it's all individual. If that makes sense, it's all individual preference. It's all individual. It's your body. It's like, and no one else will know what's going through your mind or what you like or whatever, unless you talk about it.
Yeah.
I remember I had a friend, and she was talking about how she was so upset about the frequency of this. They weren't having sex a lot, and like, she wanted this and this and this. And I'm like, have you told your husband this? And she was like, no. I was like, Yeah, maybe
Ding, ding,
start
ding,
there.
ding.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm hanging up. Like, you can talk to him.
You
Like,
gotta go talk to your husband now.
right?
Bye.
Like, why are you telling me, your girlfriend, like all these things, and like you can't even tell your husband? And I just feel like it's this like taboo. Like he should just know how to, touch me the way I want to be touched, or like kiss me the way I want to be kissed, and all these things he should know when I'm in the mood, and blah 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 blah. And yes, there's always like room for spontaneity, but
Yeah.
if you're not talking about what you want, and it goes back to what we always say, healthy people ask for what they want. And so if you're not having those healthy discussions and like only using innuendo, like, oh, how was last night? Like, and that's your discussion about your sex life. Like, yeah, it's going to be less than it could be. And so have those open discussions, talk about it. It's not weird. This is, again, the person who chose you, you chose them. I really don't think you're going to scare them off with a conversation about sex and like what you enjoy and what you like and what you want to be different and how often and all of those things. Like, make those things non-taboo. Make them something that's a normal part of your everyday life. Obviously not in front of children or like whatever. That's a private conversation for you two.
Yeah.
But that's something that should be discussed and talked about more often.
I completely agree. Like even early on in you and I's relationship, I sit there and be like, all right, so like, what'd you like? What'd you not like? And having conversations like that, because that's what matters. Because I don't want to do anything that you're not going to enjoy, that you're like, yeah, this is not it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like, okay, cool. I don't care. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to have the sex that you and I both enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just have a conversation. And that goes into like, I think everyone should go through premarital, because if your premarital is smart, they'll talk about sex.
Right.
And they'll talk about how this is not a bad thing.
Right.
Sex is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Sex is an amazing thing that God created for between a man and a woman in marriage. Like this is exactly what God created sex to be. And this is a way of worshiping God. Like it really is. And it's weird to think about at first of like, I'm worshiping God by having sex. Like what? Because everyone thinks of sex as this weird taboo, not like, oh, can't talk about that. You can't talk about the S word. But it really starts it starts at home. It starts at what you grew up with, because if you had mom and dads who weren't afraid of like, hey, this is what sex is. This is like, sex is not a bad thing. Like, obviously you are not married right now. Don't have sex, like stuff like that. And obviously not just saying don't have sex, having a conversation about what sex is and letting your children know at the appropriate age what sex is. It dissolves the tension about sex, because like your father has no problem talking about sex. My family didn't talk about sex.
Yeah.
I heard about sex through like obviously the church of like don't do it, and then like through school and through other people and like stuff like that. So it's the way I see it is like, if Ashley and I have kids, like I want to be the one to tell my kids about things. Like I want to be the one to tell my kids about like, hey, this is God. This is what sex is. This is what this is. Like I want to be able to have that conversation with my child, because I believe if I'm going to be a father, that's where it needs to come from. Because I want them to look at me and be like, hey, like, obviously dad doesn't, I want them to think dad has the answer to everything. Am I going to have the answer to everything? No. Yeah. But I'm going to try my darndest. But yeah, have a conversation about sex. I feel like I just keep talking about it.
All right. Lastly, if we had unlimited funds and 2 full days to do whatever we wanted.
Too short.
Okay, well, this is in your wildest fantasies.
Wildest fantasies. I co-own Bread and Breakfast.
Yes. So, anywho, what would you want to do together?
Man. Because, like, in my mind, I'm like, 2 days. Is that, like, if we're traveling, when we get there, that's when the 2 days start? Or
yeah, we have the 2 days to do anything.
When we get there? Or is it
regard any travel time. We teleport somewhere and we have 2 days.
I really want to hike Mount Fuji in Japan.
Interesting. So you want to spend 2 days hiking Mount Fuji?
Yeah, spend 1 day in the area, spend the other day hiking
really
it. Because it doesn't take like, I heard that doesn't take like more than a day to hike it. It probably takes like, I've heard it doesn't take that long.
Yeah, just amateur climbers.
You and I, avid climbers.
Oh, no.
Avid hikers.
So we'd spend one day hiking and one day recovering, and then we would teleport back.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a great. I love it. It's perfect.
You?
Not that.
I know.
Honestly,
Ooh, can I
unlimited
guess?
funds. Sure, go ahead.
Is involved Norway?
No.
Banff.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's why unlimited funds. I'm going to Maldives and I'm staying on one of those little water huts.
I'm not gonna lie. As soon as you said unlimited funds, and I was like, "Oh, don't say space."
I'm not losing you to space.
I'm not losing you to space.
No,
Space
I know.
scares me.
The Maldives is just like I'm trying to relax. Like if I'm going to Norway, I can't spend 2 days because I'm going to be wanting to hike and hike and hike and hike, and that needs more time. Yeah. And like Banff, I want to hike. But if I'm going to just have 2 days, I have 48 hours. I want to relax, and I'm
go
going
stay
to
at
Maldives,
a little
and I'm
hut
gonna,
on the water.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have that little hammock over the water.
Have dinner made for you.
And I'm gonna make sure that all the sharks are uninvited.
Have the slide that goes straight into that crystal clear water.
Yep, exactly. Food brought to me.
Yeah, I changed mine. I want to do that.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with you. That sounds sick.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize how much I needed that until you mentioned it. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I have a would you rather question.
Quick. Okay. You have one. Okay.
Would you rather explore the ocean, explore all the ocean, or explore some of space?
Like what do you mean? Like I'm having to go through the entire ocean? Or
like you're in a submarine, you could explore whatever you want in the ocean.
Okay.
Or you're in space, but you're only in there for like a day, quick trip to the ISS.
Oh, I don't have that much time. I'd rather go to space.
If I'm guaranteed safe, if I'm guaranteed that I will not die, nothing will bad happen to me, I would choose space. It'd be super cool. Go on a spacewalk would be sick. Yeah. Obviously, I don't have the training to go on a spacewalk because apparently those are nuts.
But you have the training to go to Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mount Fuji's not a difficult hike.
No.
I've looked into it.
Yeah.
I saw a video of a 6-year-old kid doing it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're fine.
We've done
Angel's Landing.
I saw babies on Angel's Landing.
Being carried.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no one was carrying this baby. Because you don't put baby in a back holder.
Okay.
Unless he fit.
We're too far off. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope you feel educated, encouraged, and empowered to thrive in whatever relationship you are in.
Peace.
Remember, we are now offering free classes in Florida through our Healthy Marriage Initiative grant. If you are interested, check out livethelife.org/aim. If you are military and you are interested in learning more about this program, you can reach out to us by emailing ashley@livethelife.org. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you feel educated, encouraged, and empowered to thrive in whatever relationship you're in.